Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on how to get started with Testwise. Today's webinar will be hosted by my colleague Khadija, who some of you may be familiar with. Khadija is our Senior Account Executive at GL Education, and she supports schools in the UAE as well as the Africa region. Khadija, I will now pass over to you so you can start today's webinar.
Thank you for that introduction, Raj, and welcome everybody to today's training session. This webinar will be most beneficial for those of you who are new to GL's testing platform, known as Testwise, and are using it for the first time. Those of you who are existing GL users and simply wish to update your student information in Testwise, which is what's required at the start of each academic year, should watch the pre-recorded webinar resource available on our dedicated UAE webpage. So let's get started. As a new school using GL assessment for the first time and having placed your order, you should have received 2 emails within 24 hours of placing your order. One will be from no reply testingforschools.com, and the other one will be Testwise setups at glassessment.co.uk. Follow the instructions to activate your account login within 48 hours of receiving the email. Please do check your junk folder, as sometimes emails do fall into the junk folder instead of your inbox. And if you have still not received your Testwise welcome email by now, then please make contact with the international team via the international@gl.com email, and our account executives can look into this for you further. So when you're on the Testwise login page, it's highly recommended that before you log into Testwise each time, you read the login page, as it will contain information, important information and reminders such as planned maintenance. As you can see at the moment, there's a red sentence that just says that we are experiencing some busy times at the moment, and there may be some delays when processing reports. So that's something that was added to give you a heads up before you start trying to download any reports. So read through that information carefully before you start testing, and you also will have information on the tech support team and how you can get in touch with them. So once you log in, you will be presented with the Welcome to Testwise dashboard. So here you will find the selection of different tabs depending on the setup permissions that you have within Testwise, and I'll talk through that with you today as well. So as well as the Testwise homepage and the different tabs, you'll also have the help page in the top right-hand corner. And if you click on that, there'll be information for you to guide you through the different tabs and how to use Testwise. Please be aware that there are some links in there that aren't UAE specific. So that help page is for schools all over the world, but there is some UAE specific information and instructions that you need to follow, which again, I'll talk through some of that with you today. So just bear that in mind. So I'm going to start by showing you the My Organization users and services areas first. So once you are in the My Organization area, you'll see different account details for your school. And here you can make changes to some of the information on your school's Testwise account. Any changes you do make will affect the Testwise users within your organization. So this includes the account name, which appears on every screen in the system, and the account logo, which can be displayed on the cover page of reports. If there are any changes you need to amend that are grayed out and you're unable to edit this, please contact your GL account manager, and we can discuss this further with you. One key area to highlight is the key contact email and number at the bottom. It's vital that you keep this up to date with the latest contact information, because this is the contact details that we use when we need to communicate any planned maintenance that is kind of last minute that we need schools to know immediately. So only this one contact will receive those notifications, so you should be sharing that with your colleagues, if it's applicable. You can only access the My Organization functional area if you have the relevant user permissions. The school admin user role can access this area, but the teacher roles do not have access. And I will talk you through the user section now. So this is the section where you add teachers and users to give them access to the platform. To add a new user, select the Add User tab at the top of the page. You must fill in the teacher's name, first name, last name, and school email address. You don't need to create a password for them, as they'll receive an email that will prompt them to create this themselves. So once you're happy with this information, you will next have to select the role for that user. So the role is basically the different permission that you want to assign to that specific teacher. So there are two main roles that you'll be using. So the teacher role, and this person has the ability to view the services, so the tests that you've signed up for. They can also manage student data information. They can manage and create sittings, and they can also download reports. The school administrator has all of that same access and permissions, but they also have access to the My Organization page, which I just showed you, and also this user page. So essentially they can edit the account, and they can also add and remove users from the account. So once you've added your users, you're good to go. It's important that you do keep an eye on this page and keep this information up to date, because anyone who has access here and who is an active user will have access to your school's information, and there is sensitive data on here, so you want to maintain that and keep that up to date. So it's important to deactivate any individuals that have left and are no longer in your at your school. So to do this, you simply tick the box next to the teacher's name. And then you select the archive in the top right-hand corner. Once you confirm that you want to archive that user, you'll see that they're no longer visible in your list of active users. If you've done this by an accident, or that teacher comes back to your school and you want to reinstate their access, you can simply click the Show Archived Users Only on the left-hand side, and then locate that individual. Select the box beside their name and hit the Restore button at the top right-hand corner. You can see the individual has now disappeared from the archive list, and if you go back into the active list, you'll see that they're present there now. The other actions that you can do here is you can also edit the user's information. So if you want to edit, for example, the email address, or you've entered the name wrong, you simply click the Edit button. And that will take you back to this page. You make the necessary changes you need, and then you hit Save again. The other option is also, if one of your teachers has forgotten their password, you can reset the password here. You can, colleagues can also reset their own passwords on the main page before they log in. They'll simply select the Forgotten Password option that's presented. So that's all you need to know about keeping, adding users and keeping the data up to date. The next section I'm going to show you is the services. So the services tab contains information about which assessments your school has purchased. So if you look, you see you'll see the list of assessments that you've actually purchased. So if you've only got purchased Cat 4, then you'll only see Cat 4. On the right-hand side, moving along, you'll see status, and here is where you can see if your credits are live, if they're pending, or if they've expired. All credits are valid for 12 months from the date of purchase. However, with regards to progress test series, credits are locked in line with the testing windows within the UAE. Therefore, if you are purchasing PT credits in advance of the window opening, you'll see them as pending. The total credits, the credits available, is how many credits you currently have active to use. And then the total credits are the number of credits you have purchased for that assessment. On the right-hand side, you'll see a subscription tab, which when you open up will display what is in your service. So the test levels, the reports that are available to you, all of that information will be presented there. And then at the bottom, if you scroll down, you can actually see when the subscription went live and when the subscription is due to expire. All unused credits are non-refundable, and we do not offer extensions. Therefore, when purchasing, please ensure that you're buying only the credits that you require. So we've got through the admin part of it. So I'm now going to show you how to actually add your students onto Testwise. So we'll select the Students tab. So before you can create any settings in Testwise, you'll need to ensure all of your students are added within the student list, as they do not already exist in the system. When you add students to your student list, it means that you can view the details of any assessments they've been assigned, any tests that are currently in progress, or tests that the students have completed in the past. You will also be able to add them to sittings and give them access to the test lobby where they can complete tests. As you can see on the page of this demo account, we do have students already listed. However, we've only done that for the demonstration purposes. Yours will be completely blank. And one other thing to notice is this student information here is all dummy data. It's not real student information. We've only done it for the demonstration purposes. So the first thing you want to do is you want to download the CSV file and input this into Testwise. So in order to do that, you want to select the Import Students tab at the top of the page. Once you select this, you will be presented with the current screen, which gives you a step-by-step on how to create, download, and import your CSV file, which is your student list, into Testwise. So select the Download Import template, which will open up an Excel student list CSV file. This, as you can see, contains some sample data to help schools understand how to fill the CSV file in. So it's an important note that I want to make here. For schools within the UAE, you should ignore the sample data presented and instead use the UAE template file that your GL account executive would have sent you. And this details how schools across each emirate must fill in the CSV file. And that will look like this. So this is the CSV file for schools in Abu Dhabi. And as you can see, it just kind of shows you how you fill that in. And in the external reference section, which is column H, you would put the student's ESIS assigned student ID. So follow this template when you're entering your student information. If you can't locate this template for your region, please either contact your GL account manager or again, visit the UAE dedicated UAE support page and select your region to download this template. So before you fill in the CSV file as per the UAE guidance template, please ensure that you delete the sample data that is presented as so. Please do not delete, edit, change any of the information in row 1, which are the title or the headers. Any amendments that are made to this row will result in the CSV file being rejected when you try to import it back into Testwise. So once you've entered the information in the CSV file, and it will look something like this, and you're happy with the information that you've entered, you will simply save that file and then go back into Testwise. And then you'll select the Browse button, and then you'll find your file and hit and then once you've imported it in, you will be presented with this page. So as you can see, there are some information in here that's presented in red. So that means that this data is either incorrect or missing. So here is an example of where the system is advising me that there is an error for this student. So I can't import the file until I make the necessary amendments. It will highlight a red box around the section where the error is located. And if you move your mouse to the right, you will see a red warning marker, which if you hover over this will give you further instructions on what the error is. In this example, it is advising me that the format entered for the date of birth is incorrect, and it should be formatted as day, month, year. So in order to correct this, I would select the cancel button at the top right-hand corner. And then I'd go back into my CSV file. So I'll open up my CSV file and I will find that student's where I have the error. And then I will edit it according to day, month, year. Then I'll save that again into my files. Then I'll go back into Testwise. I'll select the import students. I'll browse again. I'll find that file that I've just saved. And then I can now see that there are no invalid students showing, and Testwise is allowing me to import these students again. So all new students that are inputted into the system list will be presented in green, and any updated students will be presented in blue. As this will be your first time adding students into your system, into your student list, all of your students should appear as green. So then you'll select the import button on the top right hand corner of the page, and then I'll select OK. And then that will import the information, the student list, into Testwise. So once that's done and your file has been processed, you'll get an email confirmation from studentimport@gl-education.com letting you know that that's been done. If you have a new student or you have a few students join after you've already gone through that process of importing your student's CSV file, then you can add those 1 or 2 students using the Add Students icon at the top of the page. So to add this, student, you'd select that student add student page, and it will allow you to add students one at a time. So again, you import you put the information in the same way as you would the CSV file. So you want to keep the formatting exactly the same. And once you're happy with the information that you've entered, you simply select the Save button at the top right-hand corner. And then once you've done that, you'll see that that student appears in your student list. So you don't have to go through the whole CSV file again. The Actions tab beside each student allows you to do one of 2 things. So the first thing is it allows you to edit. So it allows you to edit the student information. Again, rather than having to download the CSV file, you can simply select Edit, and make the changes that you need to. For example, if you've made a mistake in the name, and then you select Save. Please do not change the unique identifiers, as this must remain the same for your students throughout their time at your school. This is because the unique identifier is where all assessment data is logged for that student, which is why even if a student leaves, you should not reuse the unique identifier for another student. The other thing that you can do in the actions actions section is you can look at the activity log, and this shows you the assessments that the student has been assigned. So I can see, for example, that Theo Allen was assigned Cat 4 Level E on the 20th of September 2021, and I can see that he has not actually started or completed any parts of the test. If I scroll down, I can also see that he was assigned Progress Test Maths and on the 9th of August, and I can see that he has started and completed, and I can see that that's the same for all parts of Progress Test Level 13 Maths and English. So that just gives you an overview of what that student's done at their time in your school. So it's important to note that at the start of the webinar, I did say that if you are an existing user, at the start of each academic year, you do need to keep your student information up to date, which means that you will be archiving any students that have left at the beginning of the year. You'll then also update the existing students, the grades in the classes as they would have gone up a year. And then finally, you'll be adding your new students to the bottom of the CSV file. We do have a pre-recorded webinar on how to update your CSV file at the beginning of each year. And again, you can find that information on the UAE webpage. So once you've added your students onto Testwise, I'm now going to talk you through how to actually create the sittings and assign the test to the students. So if we go to the settings tab, currently you can see on the screen that I have already created some sittings. Again, your sitting bank will be blank because you're a new customer. So in order to create a sitting, I need to select the Add Sittings tab at the top of the page. Once I'm on this page, I will be required to enter the sitting name. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to pretend that I'm creating a sitting for my grade 5 students. So I'll label this grade 5. You want to ensure that there's consistency on your Testwise account. So you try to use the same formatting. So for example, if I wanted to create a sitting for my grade 6 students, then I would, enter the title in the same way. So next it's asking me to select the service that I want to use. So here it's asking me to verify which assessment the sitting is for. So I want to create a sitting for Cat 4, so I'll select Cat 4. I'll select Cat 4 and select the Add. And then it's asking me, well, which level of Cat 4 do you want to assign to these students? So what I want to assign is Cat 4 level C, because this is the this is the level that corresponds with that grade. So if you're unsure of which Cat 4 levels to assign, please refer to back to your email confirmation, as this will include a link to the test level guide. And the test level guide looks like this. So as you can see, if I go to grade 5 in the second column, and then I move it along to the Cat 4 test, I can see right there that it should be level C. And we have a breakdown by year, grade, and so on for the different assessments. So ideally, all students doing the same level of Cat 4 should be assigned this test in the same test period, so that there is no copying or discussing the assessment. If I'm happy with this first page, I'm going to select Next. And now it's asking me to actually set the time that I want the tests to go live. So the next section is the test start period, which shows the test period in which the students will be able to start their tests. The from date will be the date I'd like my students to start testing. I've planned that my students will start Cat 4 testing on Sunday, the 10th of October. And I want to do that at 9 a.m. If you're planning to start testing at 9 a.m, then you want to ensure that your students are coming into the IT lab at around 8:30, 8:40, so 20 to 30 minutes before, to ensure that that they have time to settle in, to make sure that there are no issues with in terms of the IT, so that they're ready to start testing at 9 a.m. And this is actually the advice that we give in the digital teacher guides for the assessments you're administering. So each assessment has its own guidance, so please do read through that carefully before you start any testing. So the to date is not the date that I expect the students to complete the test. The to date is how long I want the sitting to stay active. So to explain this in more detail, you may schedule for the students to complete the test on the 10th of October. However, there may be some students who are not able to attend on that day. So if you allow for the sitting to be opened a bit longer, then the students can come back into school and start testing as the sitting will still be active. So you won't have to create extra admin for yourself and set up new sittings or download new access codes. The maximum time you can keep a sitting open for is 30 days. However, please ensure that you are still testing within the UAE testing window. So once I'm happy with this information and I've put the time in according, I can then select the next button and actually start adding the students. So on this section, it's asking me to select the students I want to appear for this sitting. So I'll need to search my students by selecting the Add Individuals button at the bottom of the page. I'll then be presented with a full student list based on the information I've entered in the CSV file. It's really important to know that this is this does not include all of the students on the first page. It will only show you 100 students at a time. So if you are a very large school, you'll have to scroll all the way to the bottom and select load more so that you can see your full list. The easiest way to add students is to actually select the refine search at the top of the page. So this is why it's so important to add your CSV file in, complete it with consistency, because if the formatting is different for students, then they might not appear when you actually refine them. So if you're testing all of your students in grade 5, for example, then you can use the year filter. If you want to do it by class, then you can use the group column and so on. So for this demo, I will be selecting all of my grade 5 students. So I'm going to select the year column. So I'll then select, once I've gone through the list and I'm happy and all of the students are appearing there, I'll select the add button at the top right-hand corner. So right now it's showing me, it now shows on the bar at the top the remaining Cat 4 credits I have. So I've got 74 out of 105 left. So if I find that a student is missing, I can go back and search the student and add them to the sitting. But if I'm happy with my list, then I am going to select the next button. So the next section is asking me what mode I want to set this sitting up for. There are 2 different options that I can do. I can either do a manual start, so students can log into the test lobby within the test period. However, the tests are locked until the Testwise user, so either the teacher or the school administrator, manually starts the test by clicking the start button from within the sitting area. You may wish to do that if it's your first time, just to make sure that you have full control. The other option is the automatic test start. So the automatic start mode means that students can go into the lobby and start testing as soon as the start period is live. The teacher will not need to manually start the test. This is provided obviously that the students have what's called the access code. I'll talk you through that in a moment, but if they have their access codes and it's an automatic test start, then they can start straight away. For the purpose of this demonstration, I am going to just keep it as automatic start. So I'll click next, and then the last page is just a summary of everything that I've done. So I'm going to look through this. I'm going to check that I'm happy with everything that's on this page, and then I will select Save Sitting. So as you can see, the sitting is currently showing as pending, and it will show, so it will have the names that I've assigned for the test. It will show the the level or the test that I've assigned. The status, as I mentioned, is pending. It will show the number of students that are in the test, and it will also show when the test will go live and when the sitting will expire. So throughout the test, you can actually view the progress of your students under the Progress tab. So in this section, it shows you the student's name, their access codes, and whether or not they're logged into the test lobby. So at the moment, none of my students are logged into the test lobby. On the day of testing, I would want to keep an eye on this to see how the students are doing. So if they're not logged in and I can't see that there should be a green tick next to their name, if I can't see that, then I might want to walk over to that student and just see, what's happening and help them log in. And an important note that I want to mention on this page is that at the bottom of the Progress tab, you can see a closed sitting button. If you select this, then it will cancel the whole sitting. So you will get a warning before you do this, before you close it. So please check this information carefully. If you close the sitting, you will be required to create a brand new sitting, and any students that have not started will not be able to log in and use their access codes that you've downloaded. So it's very important that you don't, click that by an accident. It does happen sometimes. However, students that have started the test will be able to complete the test even after the sitting has expired or closed, as long as they still have their access codes. That credit will be used and it will be taken from your lead bank. So this is the progress page. This is where you keep an eye on the sitting. Right now it's showing that none of the parts have been started, but it will say in progress, completed, as the students move along. Okay, so I'm going to move you on to the actions. So if you select the actions button, you can actually either edit the settings. So if you've made a mistake and you want to change the level that you selected, for example, for Cat 4, you can make that change, but that will only be as long as it's still pending. So once it goes live and students have logged in, you won't be able to edit anymore. The other option is to actually access the or download the access codes for the students. So you can select that as either a PDF or an Excel file. A PDF allows you to have this page. So if I just select that, you can see that it's just a kind of easier, nice delivery for you to print off, cut up and give to the students. So each one will have the student's name, their 8-digit access code, the sitting name, the date and the test, and the students use the URL at the bottom, which will prompt them to add the 8-digit access code, and that's how they start the test. Before you start any testing, it's vital that the teachers who will be administering the test read through the relevant assessment administration guidance carefully. The administration guides provide important information, for example, the timing of the test. So some of our assessments, such as Cat 4, have different durations. So level X and pre-A are 2 parts, whereas level A to G are 3 parts. So there's also guidance on what equipment the students will need, and other kind of guidance and recommendations. So it's important that you read through that carefully. And please also do ensure that you've read through the minimum systems requirements page carefully as well, because this again will give you technical support guidance. Some of our assessments can be used on tablets like Cat 4, and some of them can't, like Progress Test. It's important that you know that before you start testing. Students, when they start a test, if it's a time test, students must wait until the time of the final test has elapsed, and their results will be stored automatically. Students must not try to exit the test or close the sitting by clicking the cross at the top right hand of the corner of the page, as this will cause the results to be lost. Again, this has all been quite Cat 4 specific, but there's specific guidance for progress tests, new group reading tests, pupils' attitudes to self and school. So the different assessments that we have all have their own instructions. So please do read through the digital guidance carefully. So once you've added the students and they've tested, the last section or the last thing that you can do on Testwise is actually download the reports. So if you click the Create Report button, this will display a selection of reports that are available to you. So for example, Cat 4, you have the group report for teachers, the summary report for senior leaders. You also have an individual student report for teachers, a summary presentation, for senior leaders. You can have an Excel report. So if you're a data administrator and you want to just kind of do some raw analysis, and you can do that. You have the individual report for students, so you can share with the students, and one for the parents. So yeah, and you can have, there are samples that you can look at on the right hand side as well, if you want to just kind of have a quick look at that. For the demonstration purposes, I'm going to download a group report for teachers. So I'll select Create Report, and then I will select all of my students who have taken the test by selecting the tick next to first name. And in the top right hand corner, I'm going to define the report settings. So I'll outline what I want the report to be named. Again, you want to keep this something that is easy to understand. So if other teachers are logging in and they're looking, they know where to look or what that actual report is for. So just kind of keep that simple to understand, I guess. And then I will put the group name in, and I can actually sort the students or the data by either the surname if I'm using a register, or the overall mean SAS, the standard age score. So it's up to me how I want to list it. I'll select the country as international, and then I can also select the different indicators that I want. So I'm going to choose NC levels. Once I'm happy with that information, I click Generate Report, And then what will happen is it will process that for me. I remember from the first page that at the moment it's taken a bit longer to process reports at the moment. So if I just show you the actions, if I select the actions, I can preview that, or I can actually go ahead and just download it. And that's how you get the reports from Testwise. So once you've done that, you can then head over to our training pages and actually start analyzing the data and kind of finding out more about your students and actually using the data to help support your school. So that's the end of the kind of webinar. We do, again, as I mentioned, we have some support links. So we have training options that are available all year round that are pre-recorded, and we have it at different levels, so senior leaders and classroom teachers. So you can select those and you can kind of go through it with your team whenever you have time. And then we also have some live webinars that will be coming up as well. So you'll have that information that you can kind of sign up to as well. We mentioned a lot the testing in the UAE dedicated pages. Again, there's a link for that, and we'll send you that information. So it will have information on the requirements as well as frequently asked questions and additional information that you might need. We also will send you a link of the educational stages so you can know which levels to assign for which test. So those are some of the support links that you have available. At the moment, we are extending our support hours. So our technical support team will have someone working here every Sunday to support your schools in the UAE. And we'll also have the international customer support. So myself and my team will also be working Sundays again to support you all. So if you need to get in touch with us, those are the contact information that you'll need. If there's anything that we've missed or not addressed in this presentation, if you'd like us to provide further support, maybe you want us to look at your CSV file and just check that everything's been entered correctly, or you want us to check your settings, we're more than happy to do that for you before you start testing. It's vital that the information is entered correctly and the correct settings are assigned, the correct levels of the tests. So we're more than happy to check those things over for you before you start testing. Just get in touch with us, and there's our contact details. We really hope that this session was useful. If you have any questions, like we said, get in touch with us, but thank you for joining us today. And have a wonderful day.